But first, our top story tonight. After the monster COVID surge, now there is another surge. This time, it's in prices that have compounded the misery, especially of the middle class. Today, the wholesale price index numbers were at an all-time high. Retail inflation has also now skyrocketed to a 6-month high of 6.3%, meaning the price of essential food items have also risen. This comes at a time when citizens are already bearing the brunt of rising fuel prices. The government says the duties and taxes on fuel are necessary to fund its various COVID programs. Who is to blame, the centre or someone else? Our top story tonight is going to look at the big price question. Take a look.
Rising prices are burning a big hole in the Aam Aadmi's pocket. From fuel to grocery, every item has become costlier. The sudden rise in prices have derailed home budgets. Coming close on the heels of record unemployment, inflation has dealt a double blow.
सर परेशानी हो रही है, बहुत महंगा हो गया, इतना काम धंधा रोजगार पानी नहीं है, अभी कितनी महंगाई चल रही है, कोई कमाई नहीं है, बेरोजगार है, सब ऐसे घूम रहे हैं कि जैसे कोई घर पे बैठे-बैठे सारा सामान कंप्लीट बंद पड़ा हुआ हमारा।
ऑयल में रिफाइंड में काफ़ी फ़र्क पड़ा है, काफ़ी मतलब समझ लीजिए कि हाफ से ज़्यादा हम लोग का बढ़ गया।
Retail inflation has skyrocketed to a 6-month high of 6.3% in May from 4.29% in April. Food inflation has gone up to 5.01% compared with 1.96% in April. Wholesale price index has jumped to 12.94% in May, an all-time high, from 10.49% in April. One of the factors fueling the price rise is the jump in prices of petrol and diesel. Petrol now costs over 100 rupees per litre in many parts of the country. The centre has ruled out cutting excise duty on fuel, triggering angry reactions.
आज मुंबई में सबसे महंगा इसीलिए है कि महाराष्ट्र की टैक्स देश के अंदर सबसे ज़्यादा है। राजस्थान की टैक्स पेट्रोल के ऊपर देश के अंदर सबसे महंगा है, वहाँ पहले घटा है।
When the hike is because of the excise duties hike by government of India, the relief should also come from that perspective only.
Experts say high inflation at this time is bad news for the economy.
The centre and the states have added duties over the last year when the prices had crashed globally. Since that is still in effect, it is something that is taking the retail fuel prices to new highs every so often.
This is not a good sign for the economy, which is struggling under low demand, and at a time when there is no demand, the prices are increasing.
If the Aam Aadmi's budget shrinks, demand will go down further. Manufacturers will produce and invest less. There will be lesser jobs. If tax on fuels is cut, the government's budget will shrink. And that is why right now the government's option to address the stress in the economy seem to be shrinking extremely fast. In New Delhi, Rahul Srivastava for India Today.
So let's raise the big questions, but before that, take a look at what has happened to your budget. Retail inflation, May 2021, and this is year on year, oil and fats are up 30.84%. Meat and fish are up 9.03%. Eggs are up 15.16%. Fruits are up 11.98%. Pulses and products are up 9.39%. Spices are up 6.86%. Non-alcoholic beverages are 15.10%. Prepared meals, snacks, etc. are up about 5.12%. Fuel and light are up 11.58%. And fuel has gone up in the month of May compared to February by 34%. Health, 8.44%. Transport and communication, 12.38%. Personal care and effects, 7.99%. So clearly, this is now a basket of goods, both retail and wholesale price index on the way up. Inflation biting. The big questions: how to tame skyrocketing prices? has the Modi government failed to manage inflation? Where does the blame go for the fuel price? Center or states? Will inflation have a political fallout as we move towards the 2022 elections? Joining me now, my first guest is Dr. Amit Mitra, the Finance Minister of West Bengal. Appreciate your joining us, Dr. Mitra. My direct question to you is, who do you blame today for the rise in inflation? You might have heard what Dharmendra Pradhan, the Petroleum Minister, said. He said several states themselves are doing revenue mopping by raising taxes, especially on fuel. Don't only blame the center for the surge in prices, especially fuel. Your first response.
I think we first must understand that the center in 2020-21 has made 230,000 crores, 2.3 lakh crores in taxes which it got from fuel, number one. Number two, what they have also strategically done is increase cesses and other things which states do not get a share of. So they keep it all to themselves. So states have only, all states put together, all union territories put together have only got, has only made 1.3 lakh crores. They have made almost double that amount. You take the petrol price today. In Kolkata, it's 95.86, almost 96 rupees. How much is the center getting? 33 rupees out of that. State is only getting 18 rupees out of it. So that 230,000 crores, 2.3 lakh crores, they have quietly collected in 2021, denying the states by increasing cesses so they don't get their share of this.
Sir, Dr. Mitra, if I may point out, just a minute.
Continue to do this.
Dr. Mitra, if I may point out, taking off again from what Dharmendra Pradhan, the Petroleum Minister, says. He says, look, the government has to fund its various COVID programs, that they need 35,000 crores for the vaccination program, 100,000 crores were needed, according to the minister, for the various Garib Kalyan programs launched by the Prime Minister. Where does the government get its revenues in a time of low growth? So they have to go in for taxes.
It's complete, they don't understand macroeconomics at all. If you monetize your fiscal deficit from the Reserve Bank, you can make the same amount of money, but they won't do it because they don't understand macroeconomy. Let me ask you, the corporates today has got a huge tax cut. And you know what has happened? Their profits are highest in the last 4 years, 2.4% of GDP. They have kept it quietly and they're not investing. So they have gained. The middle class has gained nothing. They are only facing petrol prices, which is your topic today. Poor have gained nothing. Do you know that in the month of May, the total amount of job lost in India is 1.5 crore. That's 15 million jobs lost. Only in the month of May, CMI data. So jobs are losing on one side, inflation on the other. So what you are looking at is a stagflation, the most dangerous macroeconomic idea, where inflation goes up, the economy is stagnating, demand is not created, investment is not happening. You're at a very dangerous state in the economy where 2 consecutive quarters you got negative growth earlier, which means you're under recession. Now you've got stagflation on top of that. Employment, 1.5 crores in the month of May. Parallelly inflation. Doesn't make sense to economists. It's called stagflation. This is what this government has done.
You're saying that we've reached a dangerous stage of stagflation. But let me ask you the solution. Let's be clear. The fact is that there are no easy solutions in this COVID period. What are the solutions? Across the world, prices, the US also in the last month has registered high inflation, among its highest ever. So I want to understand from you, do you have a solution? It's one thing to criticize the Modi government, blame it. You're saying for mismanaging the economy. I read P. Chidambaram, the finance minister, has also accused the government of mismanaging the economy, especially inflation. Offer me a solution.
The solution originally was, which is what they failed to understand, You, at the time of the first COVID wave, you give money to the hands of the people who spend the money. That's 98% of the money they get to spend with the poor and the middle class. You give them the money, demand will be created. Automatically, these corporates who are making 2.4% of GDP as profit will be motivated to invest, and that cycle is started. First demand, and then the question of investment. What have they done? Instead, they have gone to stimulate supply by giving interest benefits, etc. Nobody is interested in investing right now. They just don't understand macroeconomics. All countries, United States, UK, Japan, spending huge amounts in providing money to the hands of the people so that demand will pick up. Once demand will pick up, supply will make full sense. So they are living in the classical economy called Say's law 200 years ago.
May I
So
ask?
they just don't understand. There's nobody in the government who understands macroeconomics.
May I ask you though, Dr. Mitra, you are one of the leading members of the GST Council. As a finance minister of West Bengal, you've been raising your voice time and again. I want to ask you this. There is a demand that there is a belief that some suggest that one way to tame fuel prices, which are largely responsible for this cascade now of prices across both retail and wholesale, is to bring fuel under GST. But states seem reluctant because you see it as a cash cow and the center also sees it as a golden goose. So going ahead, should you not bring fuel prices under GST regime?
Absolutely not, because it was an understanding from the beginning. States have given up 70% of their taxable income by joining the GST. 70%. We just gave up. Why? Because we wanted to see one tax, one nation, which they have failed simply because they launched it without preparation. And you know all the problems. 71 lakh crores of fraud, according to Mr. Nandan Nilekani's presentation. So you're talking about a messed up GST. And we are struggling with GST today because system is not working, GSTN is not working. Now, petroleum was considered to be one of the small items that is with the state. Only 30% with the state, 70% we've given up. But once you bring it in, what will happen? Your percentages will go up? Your revenue will go up? Of course not. So it is an absurd idea. Right from the beginning, we agreed to the GST by giving up 70% of our taxable income. Now you say, give up the remaining 20% also, so go home. The states will have nothing to do. Federalist polity in India.
Sir, let me be honest. I am talking as a citizen. The citizen is not worried about how taxes are apportioned between center and state. He or she are looking at the rising prices at the moment and saying, look at fuel prices. They're reaching an all-time high, and the cascading effect they're having right down the economy at a time of low income, at a time of low growth.
Yes, I'll give you the solution, Rajdeep ji. The United States did it at one time. They have built up huge reserves. 75 days of reserves that the United States does not have. Because when the crude prices were low, they tucked away into the 3 places in India. I don't want to mention where they are because of strategic interest. They have built up their reserves. This is the time, as George Bush had done and the Democratic presidents had done in the United States, President Carter did, release some of the existing reserves, bring it down to 30 days, which is what United States has. Immediately, fuel petrol prices will go down, but you won't do it because you're interested in that revenue. 2,30,000 crores is what you want to pocket.
They say they are giving it back to the people. They say that the government says, the Modi government says they are giving that back to the people through their various Garib Kalyan Yojana schemes. That you are taking the taxes from the middle class to give to the poor.
You mentioned COVID. Let me tell you, West Bengal has spent over 6,000 crores on COVID. Do you know how much center has given us? 279 crores. And in another health mission, another 100 crores. So you're talking about 350 crores out of 6,000 crores the state has spent. What have they done with the 35,000 crores? Give the estimate to the people. You've only spent 5,000 crores. You're hiding the rest. Come out, come clean. Tell the people we have spent this much out of the 35,000 crores. Tell the people, be transparent.
You mean the 35,000 crores on vaccines? Let me ask you this though, and this is in a sense again reveals, I'm looking at it again as a citizen. The fact is that you all had a GST meeting over the weekend. In that meeting, there was a debate over whether there should be zero GST on key medical supplies on life-saving drugs. And there was no consensus, and in the end, we don't have that zero tax rate which some finance ministers like you, I know, demanded. So I'm asking you, what do I as a citizen say? You know, when I see the prices of life-saving drugs are also high.
I mean, this is, to be honest, this is criminal policy. We said move it to, take it to zero rated tax. Or if you don't want to do that because you don't want to pass an ordinance, take it to 0.1% tax, which is practically close to zero. Now, what has happened? Hand sanitizers, you're taxing them 5%. How much revenue will you make? You're taxing masks, which you're saying everybody should wear. I mean, it's absurd. All this should be, can you imagine the furnace of a burning car as a 12% GST? Does it make any sense to you? So what I'm saying to you is Remdesivir. Remdesivir is a 5% GST. While you're dying, trying to breathe, you have Remdesivir, in which you will pay 5%. RT-PCR machine, 18% GST. Does it make sense to you, an RT-PCR machine you need more and more to test? This government is totally unaware of the people's needs.
Okay.
How much money will you make by making these concessions? Nothing.
Okay, you're
making 230,000 crores from
You've made your case. You've raised several key issues. You've also offered a potential prescription. As always, Dr. Mitra, appreciate your joining us there from Kolkata, the West Bengal Finance Minister, on what he believes is the solution for inflation. Let's now widen this. I'm joined by Gaurav Ballabh, the Congress's spokesperson, particularly on economic affairs, Syed Zafar Islam, former banker, now BJP MP. Syed Zafar Islam, you heard Dr. Amit Mitra there. He says no one in the Modi government has a clue about macroeconomics. And therefore, you're reaching a stage of stagflation, of low growth and high inflation. And that is now a reality staring at us. Your response?
Well, I would want to comment on his comment because his comment will be always biased because he is driven by the policy which Mamata Banerjee is perpetuating everywhere and propagating everywhere. And I'm sure he's not an economist, but he's been guided by the policy which the Mamata Banerjee and the approach which Mamata Banerjee
Forget
has.
Mamata Banerjee today, sir. I'm asking you the reality. We have today had the highest wholesale price index. Retail inflation has climbed up. People's pockets are pinching at a time when incomes are low. You tell me what's gone wrong then.
Well, let me tell you, Rajdeep, if you can analyze your own life,
yes.
Have you ever seen this kind of situation where we are today? This is something which unprecedented time which we are facing, and a situation which we had no government ever in last 1 century has ever faced, not here only, but in the entire world. The globe is facing this kind of situation, and we're having a different kind of situation here as well. Let me tell you a few things which is very important. When we are discussing about inflation, and particularly you're talking about fuel price hike, I must give you the correct picture, and it is important for everyone to know what is the problem which is being faced by the government of India. First of all, you have to see we do not have enough oil. We have to import. We are dependent on the OPEC countries, which actually is a oil producing nation. And if you just analyze, there is an upward pressure on global crude prices purely because the OPEC countries have collectively decided not to increase the production. So there is a mismatch of production and the demand, production and the supply. So I think that is leading to higher crude prices globally, and that will certainly importing countries, it will impact
Sir, there
our
is
prices.
also profiteering. Sir, you cannot, sir, no, I won't let you get away so easily. You cannot deny there is also profiteering taking place. Look at the taxes that are being imposed on fuel prices. And in the month of February, just a minute, in the month of February, when they only went up by 0.6%, that's because you didn't put any duties and taxes because there were elections. Now, if fuel prices cannot be dependent on elections, they should be dependent on market forces. You must be honest.
Rajdeep, let me ask you one thing. Hasn't Indian government opened its coffer for the poor and marginalized section of the society? Because all this money which is being, because government have limited sources for revenue. And if many of the sources which had dried up due to earlier lockdown, subsequent lockdown, a lot of issues with dealing during pandemic, I think you have to understand that government have limited resources.
Sure. I appreciate that, but you're robbing the middle class. You're robbing the middle class for your political considerations.
Not at all. Allow me to complete, and then you can ask me question.
Sure.
At least you must understand the ground realities before even interrupting me. So secondly, what we are doing, if you ask me the robbing the middle class, just go. We should not be compared, our country need not be compared with Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, or neighboring Nepal. You should compare India with other countries like France, Sweden, Italy, and many other developing countries or developed countries. And there you see that income tax rate is much steeper than what we have in India. The highest slab in the country is 42.57% or 47%, while in the rest of the world, if you see which is developed country where the interest rate is going beyond even 50%, even in some cases in the late 50s. And yet the prices of fuel or the petrol and diesel is much higher than what we have in India. So there is absolutely no reason for you to say that India, while you want to see the India as a developed nation, and you want to see India, while you want to compare the prices of oil with the likes of Pakistan. Secondly, since it's an unprecedented time, it's a time where we are, all of us, the government is facing across the globe, facing problems of different nature, which we have not faced in the past. Yet we have to see what is the priority of the government. The marginalized section of the society, the poorer section of the society, while we are raising from one source, but we are giving
you make that point. I take your point. Third
thing which is important. The third thing which is important, in terms of taxes, yes, it is not the only center. It is the state. But today I will not target Congress party or for that matter any state government which is not being run by a BJP government, purely because state needs this wealth. And because they have to take care of the people of their in that particular state. Likewise, center needs it. And
so you made your point. You're saying that the monies are needed in COVID times. You made your point. Let now Gaurav Ballabh respond. No, just a minute, sir. Sir, you cannot take over the... Let him now respond. Gaurav Ballabh, respond to what you're hearing. According to Syed Zafar Islam, we are living in extraordinary times. The government has limited resources. They need to therefore, particularly if you look at fuel as an area to garner resources and then use them for the various pro-poor programs. That's one argument that is being given strongly by Syed Zafar Islam. Your response.
Okay. Rajdeep, I will start with one line. ये कहां से कहां आ गए हम पिछले 7 सालों में? Low demand, low GDP, high inflation and high unemployment. This is the economic model of Modi government. That demand is all-time low, GDP is all-time low, unemployment is all-time high, and inflation is picking up like anything. I had 2 points to counter what BJP representative had mentioned. He's telling unprecedented times. Rajdeep, in unprecedented times, had you seen any government constructing 20,000 crore Modi Mahal, buying 8,500 crore rupees of VVIP aircrafts, constructing 800 crore rupees of Narendra Modi Stadium?
That's not affecting the economy. A 20,000 so-called Modi Mahal is not affecting the economy. I am asking you a simple question. What is your alternative?
I will give you the reason. It's not like that, because Petroleum Minister had mentioned that we require money for vaccination. Why then you are constructing Modi Mahal? First point. Second point, I'm very categorically I am pointing out that whenever we talk about fuel prices, it is international prices. Rajdeep, today the fuel prices is something around $72 a barrel, and we had reached last year at $30 a barrel. Had we received any benefit of 1 paisa also? No. During the election, the international crude prices had increased by 720 rupees a barrel. But instead of increasing, the petrol and diesel prices were reduced in our country by 75 paisa per liter. In other words, fuel pricing in the current government is not dynamic. It is purely a political price. Now coming to the
so why doesn't a Congress ruled government like Mumbai, where petrol prices are 102 rupees per 0.58, decide to slash your taxes and duties? All Congress ruled states should take the lead.
Good argument. And I am making a point that in last 7 years, the excise duty on petroleum is increased by 258% and on diesel by 820%. Is there any state who had this type of increase? Is there any state who had 10% of this increase? No. Answer is no. The basic increase was because of the excise duty hike. In diesel, it is 820% hike. And I will give you a holistic figure. In last 7 years, Government of India had collected 24 lakh crore in the form of excise duty from petrol and diesel. And all state governments put together had collected 14 lakh crore. So 24 lakh जो collect कर रहा है वो कम करेगा या 14 lakh जो collect कर रहा है वो कम करेगा. And last but not least, before 2014, Rajdeep, this Divya Gyan was not there with them. जब तो चूड़ियां तोड़ रहे थे, cylinder फेंक रहे थे. Are you not aware of this Divya Gyan before 2014?
Okay,
Don't shout in between. Let me complete. And last but not least, Rajdeep, till the time demand is not going to pick up, the GDP is not going to be restored to the earlier level. The unemployment levels are not going to come back to the 2% level, which is right now at 12%. And the only way to increase demand, Rajdeep, is to reduce the fuel prices, to reduce the excise duty. And if you will make 1 rupee reduction in excise duty, the state's duties are connected to the excise duty. So if you are going to increase 1 rupee in excise duty from Delhi, in Bangalore, it will be reduced by 1.4 rupees because states charge VAT on the excise duty component also.
Professor Pallab,
I'm saying take the lead.
Professor Pallab, you made your point. Syed Zafar Islam respond. Let's be honest. Why not we be honest that governments are profiteering? I can use that word. You may disagree with the word. The fact is, though, fuel prices today do not reflect the market realities. They reflect a political reality. Let's accept that. And today, the consumers are suffering.
Rajdeep, first of all, you must accept the ground reality. I think which world you people are live, I don't know. But you are completely insulating yourself from the ground reality. What is the state of this country, every country or state of the globe during pandemic? And you are ignoring the fact that no one, even in the last 1 century, has faced this kind of situation. And you are completely insulating yourself from that. But anyway, you will do what you need to do. But let me tell you a few things which Mr. Professor Pallab has spoken.
Come on, sir. I accept that we are in a pandemic, but when you say that India must be compared to Sweden, France, Italy, Germany, and not to countries in the neighborhood like Pakistan and Bangladesh, I'm a little amused, I must confess.
No, but you have to understand. Go back and see the data and statistics, then you will see that why I'm referring to those countries, not Pakistan and Bangladesh. But away from that, let me tell you, Rajdeep,
those countries have proper social security schemes for their citizens, all citizens.
So, but the tax structure also, you must analyze the tax structure of those countries as well. Do not compare with our tax structure.
Okay.
Secondly, Rajdeep, let me respond to the question which is raised by Mr. Professor Vallabh. First of all, when a professor blatantly tell lies to the nation, I don't know how to respond. I think he should sometime understand that when you should remove he should remove professor from his name and say that only a spokesperson.
What's the lie?
Because at least he's telling lies. Lie is when he says 20,000 crore. Has he seen that it is 20,000 crore? It is to be spent over 6 years, not in 1 year.
On the central vista. Point taken.
Yes, 1,300 crore is only being spent. When he's so sensitive and sincere about it, then why he is not raising the same issue when the Rajasthan government is spending 925 crore? The Chhattisgarh state government is spending for similar kind of work in 400 odd crore, and Maharashtra is completely ignorant or trying to ignore all those issues. Third thing, no, I don't interrupt me. Like you heard him. Please hear me.
Okay,
the third thing which is important. He said the state VAT has been collected and less than the central excise duty. You must understand, Rajdeep, that whatever is being collected, 42 or 43% of that is being given to state.
As per the Finance Commission,
it is much higher than Finance Commission recommendation, much higher than, and they have much more flex than what the Government of India has. They do not have the kind of responsibility which the Government of India is taking.
I'm going to ask, sir, I'm going to ask both of you, sir. I'm going to ask both of you this.
And third thing, which is inflation, I must say, you are talking about inflation, Rajdeep. See, inflation is always temporary. So it's sometimes because of the seasonal factor, sometimes because of some push pressure or push because of X, Y, Z reason. But overall, if you see, that Professor Vallabh, who sometimes when you laugh, either you're trying to expose yourself completely.
You're saying this is a temporary problem. Inflation is temporary at the moment. You do not see this at all as stagflation.
This is the RBI forecast. What is RBI forecast? It is within the range of 4 to 6%, plus minus 2, 4% plus minus 2. But the people who had double-digit inflation are shamelessly laughing here because they do not know what exactly at that point of time. There was a policy paralysis. There was all the macroeconomic parameters at that point in time was in terrible shape. And today, shamelessly, this professor is laughing. I'm ashamed.
Sir,
What kind of professor I did.
Let's not shout and let's not target each other. You made your point, Zafar bhai. I've not interrupted you.
Why is laughing like
Okay, why are you laughing? Okay, Gaurav Vallabh, Zafar Islam is upset that you're laughing. The fact is, according to... Sir, just a minute. Reserve Bank of India forecast suggests that inflation will be tamed, although they have pointed out to the seriousness of the problem at the moment also. Go ahead.
I am laughing because of his ignorance, Rajdeep. The reason of my laugh is his ignorance. And I will give you the reason. And I'm challenging in front of all your viewers that total cost of Central Vista project is 20,000 crore. Please check, number one. Number two, he has referred Chhattisgarh government. Please don't interfere. No.
That
I am laughing because
figure,
of...
Sir, that 20,000, just a minute, Zafar bhai. Zafar bhai, let me anchor. Zafar, Gaurav Vallabh, please switch off one mic. Gaurav Vallabh, that figure of 20,000 has not been confirmed. That is a figure which is hypothetical, but go ahead. Now finish.
Okay.
Give your big point.
Now I am confirming as per the various news reports. Okay.
Yeah.
Second point, Rajdeep. He quoted Chhattisgarh government. Chhattisgarh government had postponed the construction. He is not aware. So I am laughing because of his ignorance.
What about...
Sir, I am asking... Just a minute, Zafar bhai. He did not interfere with you. I am asking you, Gaurav Vallabh, does the Congress have a solution? Give me the solution. All of you are telling me the problem. What is the solution?
I had a solution. First of all, you have to accept the problem. Finance minister, when food inflation is 6.3%, finance minister may say, "मैं तो प्याज नहीं खाती." When mustard oil or the oil inflation is, eating oil inflation is 30.84%, the petroleum minister may say, "We had controlled adulteration. That is the reason mustard oil prices are increasing." Some ex-minister in Chhattisgarh is saying, "तेल के अगर दाम ज़्यादा लग रहे हैं, तो तेल मत भरवाओ, रोटी मत खाओ." So this type of attitude, first of all, they have to stop. Second point, Rajdeep, time and again I mentioned that you transfer for next 6 months 1,000 rupees per month to the 15 crore people in our country. That will cost you 90,000 crore. And 60,000 crore you invest in the capex, because capex investment is having a magnifying impact on the GDP to the extent of 2.5 times. So when you will invest 60,000 additional money in capex, you will contribute 1.5 lakh crore rupees of GDP. And this 90,000 crore which you will be transferring to 15 crore people for next 6 months, 1,000 rupees per month, the demand is going to be generated. With this new
Right.
demand, there will be a consumption. With the new consumption, this low demand production capacity which our manufacturing sector is operating, they will come up with a higher production. Employment opportunities will be generated. This is the only solution.
Okay.
I am laughing because of his
Rajdeep,
baseless thoughts.
Rajdeep,
No, I have to leave it there. I unfortunately am a prisoner of time. I have tried to ensure that both of you
No,
got
but
equal
give me
time,
10
sir. No, sir, I think we've heard. We'll have many more. This is not going away. I appreciate Zafar Islam and Gaurav Ballabh. Always, I hope both
Thank
of you
you.
will smile. Both of you should smile.
Thank you.
That would be nicer.
Thank you, Rajdeep.
Thank you
and
both
good
very
night.
much for joining me on the show today.